Sorry everybody, it's Xilicks here, and welcome to week 5 of the Elysian League. We are facing off against the Miami Mawiles, so if you'd like to skip straight to the battle, click on the annotation now, and if you want to see what team I'm bringing, then continue watching from this point on. Alright, so taking a look at Zen's team, he has the Mega Mawile, huge threat offensively, is a little bit slow though, so we can play around it. We have Dustnor as a Zmon, a little bit of a gimmicky Zmon. It can do things like a Z Momentum. I don't know what Z Pain Split does, and it has quite a bit of coverage moves, some punches, so it's something to look out for. Jirachi can be annoying. It can be leftovers, substitute, calm mind, scarf, flinch, spam, all that garbage. Arcanine can be pretty offensive or defensive depending on the spread. Starmie again can be offensive or defensive. I expect it to probably be a utility set this week, maybe Life Orb. Smeargle, a really annoying utility mon, can put things to sleep, can set up webs, can pass weird stats, can definitely cause issues. Sawsbuck, I'm not too afraid of that, but it can set up some SDs and do a bit of damage. Flygon could either be utility, could be Dragon Dance. Not exactly sure what setup he's going to be bringing. Audino, annoying, it can pass wishes, it can get some weird coverage moves. I think that's about all it's going to be really doing. Scrafty can set up Dragon Dances, could be bulkier to take some hits, and then Electros, which is usually run with the Assault Vest. So yeah, his team overall is pretty threatening. Now, he hasn't gotten a win so far yet, however, he does have quite the threatening team, so we don't want to become that first win. Okay, so looking at what I am bringing, starting off I have my Melodic. I'm bringing Bold Max Defense with the Marvel Scale because he has quite a few physical attackers that can possibly set up, and any special mons that I'm worried about, like the Starmie. I can resist the water attacks and it's not too big of a deal. The only other thing that I want to keep an eye out is like a potential Thunder from Jirachi and whatnot, because that would do quite a bit of damage, not enough to really OHKO me, but you know. Other than that, running Scald to get some burns, Ice Beam to hit the Flygon, Recover to get HP back, and Haze in case he tries to set up with the Flygon or the Scrafty, or even potentially some weird shenanigans with Smeargle or Dustnor, which we have seen in the past. Next up, I have Pangoro running the Groundinium Z because his only ground resist is the Sawsbuck, I believe, which doesn't want to take a Hammer Arm. He does have 2 Levitators, but I'm running the Mold Breaker ability, so we don't really care about Levitate. Running Max HP, Max Attack, Adamant with a little bit of speed, because I believe he does have a few things at base 50, like the Smeargle. I think the Audino is as well. I don't really remember that speed tier, but I'm running Hammer Arm because other than that, I don't really care about speed. I want damage. Knockoff to get rid of some items. Ice Punch to hit the Flygon, and then Earthquake to either just generally hit things super effectively or to use with our Groundinium Z for as much damage as possible. Next up, I'm running Choice Scarf Landers so I can outspeed a Choice Scarf Timid or Jolly Jirachi with Earth Power just to hit everything. As I said, he does not have any real ground switch-ins except for the Electros and the Flygon, but the Flygon doesn't want to take an HP Ice. I'm running Focus Blast just because I felt like it. I didn't really have another move, so I decided just to bring Focus Blast. I considered Knockoff, but I'm probably not going to be using this at all in the battle anyways. And then I have the U-turn in case he wants to switch in with the Electros. I can go for a U-turn into either Pangoro or something else to deal with the Electros. Next up, I have Choice Specs Swallow because this can outspeed everything on his team, barring like a Choice Scarf Jirachi or an E-Speed from the Arcanine. Other than that, I can hit everything with a Boom Burst, including the Dustnor due to our Scrappy ability. He doesn't really have any Boom Burst switch-ins, and anything that switches into Boom Burst can get hit with a Heat Wave. And again, if he wants to maybe switch into that Electros, I can go for a U-turn, get on out of there, and go into something that can better deal with it. Next up, I have my Donphan. Obviously, our main goal here is to set up rocks and spin rocks away if needed. I'm running the Earthquake because, again, ground is very solid against this team, and the Ice Shard to hit things like the Sawsbuck and the Flygon. Finally, I have my Mega Venusaur running physical Mega Venusaur this week because Power Whip can OHKO the Starmie. I'm running enough SPDF investment and enough defense investment to take a Life Orb, either Psyshock or Psychic, max HP, Synthesis just to get our HP back, and then obviously, you know, knock off Earthquake because the ground is so good, and Power Whip to OHKO that Starmie. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to pull out a win. I do have a plan with mainly killing things with the Landorus and U-turning out if the Electros is still alive, and potentially hitting that Flygon with an HP Ice, because even at +1 I do outspeed Flygon and can OHKO it if it's not Yache Berry, and if it is Yache Berry, well then we have another way of dealing with it with Ice Shard afterwards. So yeah, also Melodic can take a hit, haze it, or hit it with a Scald. So yeah, let's get right into the battle and see how it goes. Alright, so getting into the battle, we see that he has the Starmie, expecting it to be utility, probably Rapid Spin, maybe offensive, the Jirachi, Electros, Sawsbuck, Dusknoir, and Audino. I'm probably going to lead with my Swallow because if pretty much I can go for Boom Burst depending on what he leads, or I can go for the U-turn if I decide to. So starting off the replay, he does lead Electros, and I go for the U-turn. Now I was considering going into one of my ground types, but I didn't want him to predict it and go for an HP Ice, or as you see, knock off an item. I then go into my Pangoro, he goes for knockoff, doesn't knock off my Z Crystal, and I do a huge chunk of damage. He goes into the Jirachi and goes for the Iron Head and flinches me. I'm okay with that though. I just go out to my Mega Venusaur so that I can make it evolve. As he goes into Sawsbuck, I go for a knockoff and get rid of that thing's Life Orb, so no big damage coming my way. Then I switch out into my Swallow as he reveals that he is Choice Scarfed on his Jirachi, which is going to be good information later on in the battle. I go into my FizzDef Donphan, and Iron Head does just about nothing, and here I believe I go for the Stealth Rocks. Yep, I considered going for the knockoff there, but I didn't want him switching into the Sawsbuck, and I wanted to get up my rocks. He goes for an Ice Punch on his Dusknoir, and it does absolutely nothing because of how physically defensive we are, and then he Will-O-Wisps. Now here I was predicting that he might go for a Pain Split, so I go into my Pangoro. However, instead he goes for the Z Memento, which is going to drop my attack by quite a bit, and then he goes into his Electros to get full HP. I go for the Z Tectonic Rage because I don't really care if he switches, I'm doing a lot of damage to something, as he goes for a Volt Switch and knocks me out, but the Electros is very weakened, so I'd say Pangoro did its job. I go to my Landorus, and I didn't want to Earth Power here because the Electros was still alive. I probably should have, because at that point he probably didn't know I was Scarfed, and I could have knocked out the Jirachi with an Earth Power. So now I go into my Melodic to take physically defensive hits as he spins away the rocks, and I just continue going for Scald to get damage on the Starmie. He hasn't revealed if he has the Recover or not yet, but he goes for a Thunderbolt and paralyzes me. Now this is going to be very important later on in the match, as obviously the Paralysis gives me a huge physically defensive boost. And then he goes into the Sawsbuck, doubling into the Audino. I go for an Ice Beam just to hit the Sawsbuck because I could take a hit due to the Paralysis. He goes for a Wish, and I don't want him really getting like a free switch into anything here. So if I'm not mistaken, oh, I go for my rocks again, yeah. And then predicting him to maybe Rapid Spin, I stayed in so I could go for a knockoff. Instead, he just knocks me out with a Hydro Pump, which is totally fine, as that gives me a free switch to my Swallow, and I get to knock something out here with a Boom Burst. He decides to sack off the Electros, which is fine, and goes into Jirachi. As we know, he's faster, so I do have to switch out. I go Mega Venusaur. I probably should have gone Melodic, but yeah, I went Mega Venusaur thinking that he'd just Iron Head, but no, he went for the Zen Headbutt and did quite a bit of damage. But that's alright with me. I'm just going to go right into the Melodic as said, go for a Skull, try to burn it, as he switches into the Audino. No burn yet, which is, it's alright. Not a big deal burning the Audino, all it would do is negate the leftovers, but this does give me a chance to go into my Venusaur and go for a Synthesis. he hits me with a critical hit Psychic, and it does just about no damage because of how bulky we are, as I go for a knockoff as he sends the Sawsbuck back in. He decided to go for a bounce. He's not Power Herb, as we saw earlier he was Life Orb, and that bounce did absolutely nothing due to the defense boost, and he's going to switch back into the Audino as I get fully paralyzed, which is no big deal. I'm pretty sure I just went for a either an Ice Beam or Scald, I don't know. But now I'm going to go into my Venusaur so I can Synthesis up again as he goes Starmie, and I already know that I can knock this thing out with Power Whip if I hit and live the Psychic, which I do comfortably live. I connect with the Power Whip and I knock out the Starmie. Wow, that was difficult to say. So now I'm just going to let my Mega Venusaur go down. I figured he'd probably go for the Zen Headbutt, and in the off chance that he misses, I'd be able to knock him out. He then sacks off his Sawsbuck and goes Audino. Now, I'm going to pause right here because I was thinking this thing probably has the Ice Beam, right? And if I stay in attack with my Landorus, I can do 40 to 50% with a Earth Power depending on its spread. I could go into my Melodic and just take a hit. What I didn't want to happen though was I did not want to have me go into Melodic, not be able to do anything to this Audino, and have him potentially set up something. You know, I didn't want the Jirachi getting a Wish. I didn't want any shenanigans to happen. So I figured I'd just stay in, knowing very well that I could get an Ice Beam here. And I see that the Earth Power only does 38%. Now, right here, I have a very small chance of killing this thing. It's like 1% in my favor. Had we burned this Audino earlier, then I would definitely be able to kill with the Earth Power plus a Boom Burst. No question. However, you're going to see I go for the Boom Burst, and we just barely miss out on the KO. Now, here, okay, if I hit a Scald and I don't get paralyzed, I knock out this Audino, and I basically win the game, right? So he goes for the Wish, and I get fully paralyzed. So basically now, what this means, and here we see that the Scald did 19%, just barely missing out on the KO. So if I burned him earlier, or if the first Scald hit and the second Scald got the roll, this Audino would be dead. But instead, what's going to happen is he can't do any damage to me, and I cannot knock this thing out because it has Wish. I do burn it here, so its leftovers are going to be negated. And there's nothing I can do that's going to knock this thing out, because he's just going to keep wishing up, as you can see. So what ends up happening is this. So, 50 or so turns later, he goes into the Jirachi after passing a Wish. He's going to go for Zen Headbutt because it does more damage than the Iron Head. His Audino is completely out of moves at this point. All I have to do is not only hit this Jirachi with the Scald, but also burn the Jirachi. If the Jirachi gets burned, the battle is over. There's no way he can kill me. I recover more health, and this thing will eventually get worn down. Instead, what's going to happen is I'm going to get one critical hit Scald, but it's going to do quite a bit of damage. I'm going to break out again, still no burn, and he's going to miss his Zen Headbutt. I'm going to hit him with a Scald. The Jirachi gets knocked out. He goes Audino. This Audino has one attack left, being a Wish, and he forfeits because he didn't want to sit there and struggle. Now, the reason why this went on for so long is, as I said, there's no damage I could do. I can't kill the Audino, he has Wish. The only thing I could do was wait for the Audino to run out of the moves. The reason why we had the PP Soul is because I had Haze. Now, Haze has 48 uses. So, because of that, I had Haze, Recover, Scald, Ice Beam. The Audino had Ice Beam, Psychic, Wish, and Toxic. The Jirachi had Iron Head, Ice Punch, Zen Headbutt, and another move, I assume U-Turn, because obviously if he had the Thunder Punch, he probably would have been going for it, as it would have done I'm pretty sure a lot more than what Zen Headbutt was doing, and definitely more than what Iron Head was doing. So yeah, basically, I just had to sit there and click Haze until I was out of moves. He ran out of moves before me. His Jirachi wasn't able to flinch me down, and that was the game. I mean, I feel bad about having to win due to PP stalling, but there literally isn't anything I could have done. I could have forfeited, but I don't know why I would forfeit whenever I was gonna win. I had more moves. The only way he could have beaten me is if he para-flinched down my Melodic from full, which it's unlikely because Zen Headbutt obviously can miss. Iron Head is doing around the same damage as Leftovers. It's doing like 1% more. And the reason why he wasn't going for Iron Head, even though it eventually would have killed me had he kept going for it, is because one, I still have Recover. So in the event that I do break through, I could just recover health. Yeah, in total, this isn't a match that I'm happy to have won, but I won doing the only thing I could. The other thing was I was paralyzed, so about 30% of my moves didn't go off, which only further PP stalled the Audino. And yeah, it was just a mess of a battle. The Audino had no way of killing me because I was paralyzed. It did carry the Toxic, however, since the Starmie accidentally paralyzed me with a Thunderbolt, it basically made it so that I could win. Keep in mind though that before the PP stalling happened, I did get paralyzed once and I missed out on a roll, which would have killed the Audino. And had the Audino died, this would not be a 111 turn battle. As well, if my Melodic didn't get paralyzed, he probably would have won. So obviously, you know, the hacks was in my favor, I guess, as far as getting paralyzed versus him, me not being able to knock out the Audino. But yeah, also, if the Starmie did not paralyze me, then I would have knocked out the Audino, most likely. Yeah, because there would have been no way I could have not knocked it out. And then he wouldn't be able to Toxic me regardless, because I wouldn't have been statused. I think there was an opportunity where he could have statused me earlier on, though. But then, if I knocked out the Audino, it'd be a 1v1 Melodic versus Jirachi, and without the paralysis, I have a way higher chance of breaking through, and yeah, just more chances to scald the Jirachi. So, in all, I mean, Zen played pretty well. I obviously did misplay by letting my landers go down. The play probably would have just been going straight into Melodic, just because I could have, obviously I would have threatened the Audino out because I was able to PP stall it, and had I saved both the landers and the Swallow, then I would have won 3-0, but obviously I didn't think that it was going to come down to a PP stall. You know, what are you gonna do? The Audino had Wish, I had a bulky Melodic that he couldn't damage me, I couldn't damage the Melodic, or sorry, the Audino. Yeah. He preserved his Jirachi, he tried to win, he didn't end up winning, he ended up forfeiting because obviously the Audino had one move left, it was burned, it wasn't getting Leftovers recovery, it would have killed itself with struggle. And yeah, I've been rambling for quite a while, it's a long battle, but yeah, stay tuned for the next week or the power rankings coming on Wednesday or Thursday. I'll see you guys next time. Okay, thanks, bye.